You want to know what makes this video really fun? Super Smash Bros. 4 was released October 2014. Pokken Tournament, July 2015. Now don't get me wrong, I don't mean that in a way that I'm going to take a majority of the Pokken roster and then just fit it into a top 10 list. Actually, less than half of the Pokemon in this video are from Pokken Tournament, but it does give us a really good starting off point because we have a new Pokemon fighting game introduced after Super Smash Bros. That ended up getting a Nintendo Switch port as well as an entire new generation of Pokemon to choose from. So I feel like there are a lot of viable fighters that we can now talk about for the new Super Smash Bros. On Nintendo Switch. Also, a little bit about Pokken is that the mechanics are fairly similar, that you have an attack button, a directional input, and that changes the move that you end up performing. Now, one thing I also wanted to set up before this video was how many potential new Pokemon we could get in the Nintendo Switch Smash Bros. Game, because you look at the Mario franchise and we have 8 fighters. That's pretty insane. That's not including Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, because technically Donkey Kong Country, they've kind of split into their own thing. When it comes to Fire Emblem, 7 characters after DLC. So my thought is, we drop Charizard, replace it for something fresh, and we could still end up with 3 new Pokemon, or even more, for the Nintendo Switch Pokemon game. So that's actually why this is a top 10 list. It originally started as a top 5, but I had to bump it up because there could be a lot of Pokemon, and there's a lot of cool ones. Now, if you end up enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like and share with all your friends. Also, comment down below which Pokemon or which new Pokemon do you think is going to be in Super Smash Bros. For the Nintendo Switch. Now let's get into the list, and for number 10, I'm thinking Pikachu Libre. The announcement for Pikachu Libre blew my mind because I was expecting a reskin. I was wondering why they were throwing in Pikachu again, because Pikachu is already in the game. Like, it kind of makes sense that we get Libre, especially in a fighter game. A lot of the moveset and the finishing move does line up with that, but I was immediately getting Pichu flashbacks because I thought we were going to have a mirrored character that effectively did the same thing. It was mostly for gimmicks, but no. When it comes to Pokken, Pikachu Libre has a different moveset, different damage values, all kinds of different stats going for it, so I'm feeling that that could actually make it a good fit for Super Smash Bros. That they could just do a similar Pichu thing like, hey, we have Pikachu, hey, we have another Pikachu, check it out, and then have it fight on. And then I saw a lot of comments around the Super Smash Bros. Reaction trailer that were pretty much Pikachu Libre costume or Riot. How about we do one better and just give Pikachu Libre? It can have a different moveset, it can play differently, and that'd be pretty awesome. Also, if we could justify Dark Pit, then I think Pikachu Libre is definitely on the table. Number 9 on the list, Marshadow. So Marshadow was the first fighting ghost type Pokemon introduced in Pokemon, and I feel it's going to be very similar to Pikachu Libre, that we have a small Pokemon that's quick, agile, and then does a lot of physical attacks, but then can back it up specially. Being a ghost type Pokemon, might throw Shadow Ball, might have like a little bit of a Shadow Sneak attack that could be pretty cool. I could see that integrating with grabs, the B side, pulling off something like Greninja does. Yeah, Marshadow has a lot behind it. And then when you look at footage of Marshadow, it's punching, it's kicking, it's fighting, it's got that cool anime style attack behind it. So it depends if Game Freak wants to add another legendary Pokemon, or at least bring in mythicals and really amp it up. I feel with the new Pokemon movie, as well as Marshadow's fighting style in general, it could be something that happens, so we might need to keep an eye out for Marshadow for the new Smash Bros. Game. Number 8. Zeraora. So this is where things get crazy. Like, what if we go into ultimate shenanigans speculation mode? So Zeraora, we still have no idea what's going on with this Pokemon. 7th generation event, is it going to be in the movie? Like, at the time of recording this video, we don't know what's going on. Could even be an 8th generation Pokemon, but what if Super Smash Bros. Is already on that next level? They're playing the mind games, they're using Future Sight on this one, and they just have Zeraora as a fighter in Super Smash Bros. Because by the time the game releases, the Pokemon should have been revealed, especially if it's in the movie, so we should know a lot about Zeraora at that time. So if it's already programmed in the game, that'd be pretty sick. Looking at Zeraora's design, it's like an electric Lucario. It's going to beat things up. It has like stunning potential, a lot of cool stuff like that. And then we can just check out like the Pokedex entries. It approaches its enemies at the speed of lightning, then tears them limb from limb with its sharp claws. Dude, that's a ferocious Pokemon, and I think it has to end up in Smash at some point. If not from launch, then definitely a potential DLC Pokemon. Number 7. Mewtwo. So pardon my garbage Mewtwo gameplay in the background. This was like my first play at Mewtwo and it's the only footage I had. but I'm wondering if Mewtwo makes a return. Since he came in as DLC, it's going to be a question as to how the DLC characters from Super Smash Bros. 4 are going to be handled on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I do want to keep this entry pretty brief because Mewtwo is currently available, but since he wasn't available on launch for Smash 4 and not present in Brawl, I still have fears, guys. I just really want to see Mewtwo in there, so I'm going to try to secure him with it on the list. Number 6, any new Pokemon. Because like I said with Zeraora, if the game is kind of having like this predictive measure behind it, that could be a nice way of trying to sell a Pokemon for Nintendo Switch. Remind people, hey guys, we have a Pokemon game coming out on Nintendo Switch. If we get Generation 8 out of this, having a first taste, having a first play of a Generation 8 Pokemon through Super Smash Bros. Is going to be a way of selling multiple more copies of both games. So you get a lot of cross promotion right there. So I feel like a new Pokemon that has already been revealed or teased, potentially one of the starter Pokemon, could kind of sneak his way into the starting roster of Pokemon for the Switch, and that could be pretty awesome. Also, DLC is always an option. Right now, we're dealing with the 7th generation Pokemon Tournament, but if a new Pokemon comes along that is perfect, maybe even designed with this new Smash Bros. Game in mind, add it in as DLC, and things could get pretty fun. Again, maybe that's where Zeraora falls in the line, but I wouldn't just draw the line there because we have more Pokemon coming with that next game, so who knows what could happen from there. Number 5 on the list, Braixen. So Braixen is another surprising Pokemon that when it was announced for Pokemon Tournament, people really didn't know what to think. But the trailer did show it off in a pretty awesome light, and then it just integrated beautifully into a fighting game, so I can see it working out really well in Super Smash Bros. My only problem here is that not only is it a 6th generation Pokemon, so it might have been a viable contender before then, but we also have Greninja, so we have a 6th generation starter Pokemon already in Super Smash Bros. Are they going to kick Greninja? Because Greninja didn't find its way into Pokemon Tournament. Is it because it was already in Smash, or is it because it didn't turn out to be as cool of a fighter, even though it's like a ninja frog Pokemon? It can do whatever it wants, but will Braixen actually replace Greninja? Now, Greninja has a lot of fans, is actually getting a pretty decent amount of play, so maybe not getting kicked, but how would that work with having Braixen, even though it has been a very successful Pokemon in Pokken? As for its fighting just looks solid. Like, I could see it replacing Charizard as well, just being, alright, we beat it down with some fiery attacks, we got melee, we got special, we're fairly strong, and then it's a really balanced character from there, so I could see things working out pretty well. Now, if we want to talk about other fire starter Pokemon that are going to be great fits for a fighting game, we have Incineroar. So for some reason, Incineroar is not in Pokemon Tournament, but that does make it a candidate for Super Smash Bros. On the Nintendo Switch. We have a wrestling tiger Pokemon. It's going to do Braixen things, except manlier, more punching, and then shooting flames from its crotch. I think a lot of people are kind of having Incineroar high on their list of expectations when it comes to Nintendo Switch. Just looking at its design, looking at its fighting, it's pretty easy to see why. Number 3 on the list, Mimikyu. Now, Mimikyu is one of the most viable, fan service, cheesy Pokemon that they could put into the Nintendo Switch game. Because like I said, we've already had Pichu. We've already had Pikachu Libre. If they want to do some Pikachu shenanigans, Mimikyu is the way to go. We have the not Pikachu that everyone loves, and it can actually fight really well. It's got the Shadow Claw, so it can use that for punching, smashes, attacks, and even grabs. Like, those grabs would be pretty sick. Also, just kind of looking at Pokemon, they're free to do whatever they want. They got a mix of physical, they got a mix of special, they have tons of moves that they can actually choose from, so I could see Mimikyu also having access to something like the Shadow Sneak, maybe even throwing down the Wood Hammer. That could be pretty interesting. Play rough. Throw out the B side, dashes out, if it makes contact, does a little bit of a quick beat up, just... and then boom, that's going to be the play rough right there. And then we can start getting really fancy with the mechanics, because what if Mimikyu's disguise works like Bowser in Super Smash Bros. 4? That Bowser has that tough guy passive, so what if Mimikyu takes like reduced damage until it hits 50%, or it has reduced knockback until a certain percent like that, then the disguise breaks, and maybe the playstyle gets a little different from there. But overall, Mimikyu could maybe incorporate that the first smash attack is going to be blocked. That seems a little broken, because then it's like instant combo potential if it resets on stock. You know, Mimikyu comes down, just walks up, eats the first hit that the opponent throws. So that means it would actually be weak against any character that has a strong projectile that's kind of hard to dodge. But if someone wants to like get up in Mimikyu's face, Mimikyu's just going to tank that hit and then maybe start a combo off of that. Either way, like I said, there's a lot of ways to go with this. You have multiple moves, you have multiple identities with Mimikyu, and then integrating its passive could be really awesome. So I think that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Number 2 on the list, Decidueye. So Decidueye being one of the main reasons for making any top 10 Pokemon that need to be in Smash on Nintendo Switch. A lot of people are already saying that this has to happen. Decidueye already in Pokemon Tournament, one of the coolest looking starter Pokemon, if not one of the coolest looking Pokemon ever. So because of that, yeah, it actually works out really well. You have a projectile, you have some melee, you have some special in there. He can kind of fight however he wants, and even the Smash attacks would make sense because we see it in Pokken. That if you want to get into that duel phase, if you want to start fighting things, just lash out its wings. Its wing becomes a bow, so it's not like it's having to wield something and it gets weighed down by that. It can just start fighting you and like swooping in and swiping you with its wings, and then it can range back if it needs to. Also, as a grass type Pokemon, have a little bit of freedom to take it from there. So I think that Decidueye would be pretty awesome, and maybe one of the biggest reasons of putting it in the game is just further expansion. That Pokemon Tournament kind of expands upon this Pokemon, but a lot of care went into Decidueye's design. We can see, you know, from the anime, this Pokemon needs more representation, so what better way than really just fleshing out all the information, all the lore, everything that Game Freak wants to represent Decidueye by putting it in Smash. I think that'd be a wonderful way of doing it, and it'd be a great fit. However, not as great of a fit as Midnight Lycanroc. Number 1 on the list, Midnight Lycanroc. This Pokemon can fight, and it just feels like the ultimate fighter that would fan service its way in, just like Lucario. You know, we have an anthropomorphic wolf Pokemon that's just going to go and beat things down. Also, as a rock type, it can use Stone Edge. It can actually create special moves for itself and then still has some physical power behind it. And just looking at the multiple representations we have for Lycanroc in the games, in the TCG, in concept art, in the anime, it has many different fighting styles, and I just really like its standard stance that, you know, we're just kind of hunched over chilling there. That's going to look really cool inside of Super Smash Bros. Or any game where you have like active fighting going on. It's an active Pokemon. It also taunts people. It wants to go in and go for the attack. We see from the concept art, uppercutting Lucario, so that'd be a cool just up smash, just boom, straight into that uppercut, throwing out rocks if it needs to use that for specials. Its design is amazing, its concept is amazing, and if we're talking about a fighting game with Nintendo characters, this Pokemon has to make it in. And I think that's kind of it. So that's what I have to say about the top 10 Pokemon that could be in the new Super Smash Bros. Game. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.